Hi, I'm Rebecca Courtwright. As a mother, as a survivor, as a sister and a wife, I've been affected by this talk of locker room, it's just boys, let boys just be boys kind of talk. I'm raising two boys. And I recently read Whitney Lloyd's Huffington Post article in which she describes all of the unwanted sexual attention she's gotten over her lifetime and what our children might not be telling us about their experiences. And my question is, what are we not telling each other? What are we not saying out loud? And what do we only say when it comes up in a specific situation? Why aren't we telling each other, hey, this isn't right? We can do something about this. And the way that I think we can is if we really stand up and say it out loud. This happens. This happens on a daily basis. And I think the only way for things to actually change and actually come to the forefront is not in these political moves by important people. It's by everyday people standing up and saying, this happens. This happens every single day. This happens to your mother. This happens to your sister. This happens to your teacher. This happens to your grandmother. And so I would like to start a project in which women record themselves describing their top 10, because I know there's probably more, unfortunately, situations that have happened to them over the course of their lifetime. And I'll go first. I made a quick list, and I know it's not all. I've actually added to it since I started writing it down. Over the course of my lifetime, I've been subjected to countless unwanted sexual advances, rape, spousal rape, physical abuse, sexual harassment in the workplace. And so here are a list of the things that I can think of quickly. When I was working in Crystal City in Virginia near the Pentagon, I would eat my lunch outside, and this 40-year-old man would come, and he was a maintenance worker. I think he worked for Charles E. Smith maintenance company. And he would say hi at first, and I was young, I was 19. So I'd say hi back, and eventually he would sit next to me. And every day I'd go out and I'd look around for him, and of course he would pop up, and so I started trying to hide to eat my lunch. And eventually it came to a point where I stayed in my office. One day it was particularly nice outside, so I decided to go out, and he came and sat next to me and put his arm around me and was talking, oh, I'll take you to Ocean City. This guy's wearing a wedding ring, and he's 30 years my senior and won't leave me alone. So every day I'd have that sinking feeling if I saw him anywhere, and there was no way to get away from him. I worked for a tech company. I won't say their name, but it was in Reston, Virginia, and I was one of two women that worked in the office. I was repeatedly told oh, why don't you wear a shorter skirt, sweetie? I told my boss, and his advice was to go tell the person that was bothering me to stop, which I had already done. Obviously, he had no sexual harassment training. When I actually put my 2-week notice in, I told HR all of these things. They investigated, but all the guys covered up for themselves, and that was that. At one of the last events I hosted, I was in marketing, so I hosted a lot of events. A few of the guys were standing around drinking beers, and they said, oh, where are you going? And I said, I don't have a job yet. I just need to get out of here. And they're like, oh, sweetie, I've got a job for you. And that just put the icing on the cake. I knew I was leaving, and this was a good choice, because they in that company let this happen, and they did not fix it. Again, at a different tech company, a coworker in a show booth. I was doing a trade show, and you're there all day. You can't escape the people that are in the booth with you. He started asking me about being a single mom and how I, for lack of better words, satisfy myself if I don't have a boyfriend, and asked me if I had toys or what I did. And I said, that is so inappropriate, and I walked away. And I told my boss I didn't want to be in the same booth with him, but guess what? I was anyways. I worked at the Pentagon for several years as a contractor, and as you can imagine, the Pentagon is mostly men. I was repeatedly asked who I had to give a favor to have my job. I was young, and I was a woman, and it was one of those things where it's like, well, how are you here? And I felt like every single person that asked me that, I never wanted to be in the same room as them before, again. But I had to be, so there was no choice. While I was pregnant, I was pulled back to my contracting office, and my baby that I was growing had a birth defect, and so I was very upset and didn't sleep a lot, and I probably wasn't looking my best. But my employer pulled me aside and told me that part of the reason he hires all girls in his way was that he wanted them to be attractive, and I needed to wear more makeup. And I just felt like that was so objectifying at the time, because I was pregnant and I was not thinking about being sexy for men. As a single mother, I had horrible credit. Divorce ruins your credit, but I cashed my paycheck often, and it was one of those little boxes where you go in and the guy's kind of behind in a cage, and he's holding a lot of money, so you give him your check and he gives you the money. And on a particular time, he gave me my money, but he gave me a candy, and on it says, "Will you be my special friend?" Like written in magic marker. And he slid that under, and I picked it up, I was reading it, and I realized he had come out from behind the cage and pushed me against the wall and was kissing me. So I ran away, and I told the police, and they supposedly went there and told them that that was not acceptable, but I don't think anything else came out of it. I was at the eye doctor, and they dilate your eyes, and they rock you back in the chair, and they close the door, and there's little you could do. And my eye doctor turned talking about my 15-year-old son and some news articles into sex. 3 separate topics turned right into sex, and I was horrified. I couldn't exactly just run up and leave, and I felt like he knew exactly what he was doing, and it was very upsetting, and so I never went back. More serious stuff. So my ex-husband cheated and was physically abusive, and if I didn't want to have sex, he would force me. And at the time, I didn't think of that as rape, but I later found out that it definitely was rape. At 23, I got a flat tire and was raped on the highway by a stranger who turned out to be a serial rapist. So that's obviously unwanted sexual advance, but my experiences since then have shaped my whole life. You look at how many people that have been raped. You know at least 3 people that are close to you that have been raped, and you don't even realize it, because we don't talk about these things. And all these little things that I just said add up to what accounts for rape of women's identities in our society. And even though I'm a survivor of rape, and even though these other things have happened to me, I know that things can be better if we all talk about these things. being a survivor is one of those things it's not a secret, but it is. It's not like you can just go to a PTA meeting and say, "Hey, I'm a rape survivor." But on the other hand, it's something it's not something I'm ashamed of. And so when we talk about all these little things that happen to us in our life and call the men out that do it, then it might change what I consider is rape culture, where it's okay to yell, "Hey, sweetie," to a woman on a subway or on the street. It's okay to tell a girl that she should wear something different because that satisfies men's expectations of her. And it's not. This is not okay. And this sinking feeling Michelle Obama said is an everyday thing. So I am asking you, the women in my life, and anyone that sees this, to take 5 minutes. Don't feel like you have to show your face. If you don't want to show your face, just read out loud. If you don't want to read it out loud, send it to me in a personal message and I'll read it. But I want this to be a movement. I want us to compile a list of people's mothers, people's sisters, people's daughters, telling the world and the men and society that this is not an isolated case. It's not Donald Trump or Bill Clinton or Bill Cosby's accusers. It's everybody. It's all of us. Every woman you pass on the street, every woman you know, every woman you love has experienced this. So please share this video and post your own. I'm going to put up a link to where we can all post, and it could be on my website. It's facebook.com/testify2014. And it's a way for us to all share our experiences in the hopes that we can change the future. Thank you.